Hello, I'm Michael Anderson, Editor-in-Chief with Battery Technology, and welcome to this Battery Technology Fast Chat. Today we are talking with Dennis Jensen with TLX Technologies. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, let's jump right into it. In the past few years, there have been many changes in mobility. Why has thermal management become so important?
Well, it's really the hot button looking across all these different powertrain technologies. I think it's so interesting. There was a big buzz with electric vehicles, right? But what they didn't really pay attention to was the infrastructure needed to support the sales growth, at least from decision makers, whether it's vehicles, trucks, or fleets. And they didn't see the adoption that they were looking for. And then now from a thermal management perspective, it all comes down to performance, right? Of what's going to be the battery life? What's going to be the safety impact? We've seen the news clips of the vehicles burning along the side of the road. So it's a big issue, right? So, and then you add into that when it comes to range, nobody wants to buy a vehicle that's only going to get 100 miles per charge. So now you can see the big impact that thermal management can have. But a lot of the companies, when it first came to market, they were looking at more static or kind of old school systems. You know, they went to a variable speed pump and a bunch of tube runs. But what got me concerned when I saw that technology from thermal management perspective is, wait a minute, that treats all the different parts of the vehicle, the battery, the cabin, the e-motors, the electronics, it treats everything the same. You know, you can change the flow with a variable speed pump, but you really, if you make a change for the battery, you're also making a change for all the other parts of the vehicle. So from my perspective, I think that as we move into things like fast charging, better infrastructure for the electric vehicle market, I think you're also going to see a big shift in thermal management where they'll go from static systems to more dynamic systems, more advanced thermal management.
So how does TLX support mobility companies that are developing innovative thermal management systems?
Yeah, so from TLX's perspective, we get into custom electromagnetic and electromechanical solutions. So we're really partnering with innovators because when you look at something new, the standard products that are available, they're built to sell by the millions, right? They want to meet the easiest specifications possible. So they're not really going hand in hand with innovation. So as different newer systems come on the market that are able to do better things, they often need to work with somebody who can develop what they need. Now, what's different about TLX is we actually spend a lot of time doing technical and commercial research about the systems that we support. And in the case of thermal management, that's why we talk a lot about moving to more dynamic systems. And what I mean by that, it's the idea of integrating sensing into thermal management. So instead of that static system where you're just flowing hot or cold coolant around the vehicle, you're actually driving the right amount of fluid at the right temperature to the right part of the vehicle at the right time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So my next question is, you touched on this already, but just to spell it out clearly. So why is dynamic thermal management critical for future mobility platforms?
Especially when you look at the idea of like edge cases, right? So let's say fast charging in Phoenix or fast charging in North Dakota or Canada in the middle of winter. Does the car have an understanding of the ambient conditions? Does it know what kind of fast charger it is, right? Because there could be a lot of different technologies in terms of, does it charge in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, right? What amount of current is going into the vehicle? Where the car can understand the current ambient conditions and what it's dealing with in terms of charging, then the ECU and the BMS can work together to drive that right amount of fluid to the right part of the vehicle at the right time, like we were talking about. But what's so exciting for me about dynamic thermal management and sensor integration, it's the idea of, let's really take a look at the future of mobility. So many people are talking about AI.
Yeah.
You know, I can see that there's going to be a time in the not too distant future where people are driving their cars and they get beep, an alert. They look down at their phone saying, hey, you know, we've seen the kind of data conditions that you're showing on your vehicle thousands of times, and they mean that the car is going to have some problems in the next couple of weeks. You should actually go to the dealership. So when you think about the data integration, right, from a mobility perspective, so you add those sensors to collect the right amount of the right information to actually help the ECU and the BMS make better decisions. All of that data is going to go back to AI enablement, not just to monitoring, but to do prescriptive and predictive analysis.
My last question is, why should these engineers connect with TLX during the development process?
Yeah, so the thing from us is that we spend our time really talking to the customer. It's not a charge to have a conversation. We're willing to share a lot of our research information. The stuff that I just talked about dynamic thermal management, we don't do systems. We're more than happy to share the information with OEMs and tier ones because we want mobility to be successful. Now, we're definitely going to spend a lot more time with it with customers, because the way that our business is set up is that we collaborate with customers, and then that finished product that we ship out the door, the more that we can help our clients be more successful, sell more products, the more units that we're going to ship, the more money that we're going to make. So our success is predicated on customer success. And I love that about the culture for TLX. Some of the products we've actually developed in-house for the company, the modular valve family that's going to be launching shortly, we actually developed that based on conversations with customers about all their complaints about current valving and mobility. That the leak is too high, the pressure drop is not good enough. They don't have the ability to adjust with changes in system design. How many mobility projects have you heard about where the engineers have spent months and possibly years, and all of a sudden, oh, you got to change the control strategy. We're going from PWM to LIN. Or, right. Oh, no, we're going from 25 millimeter port to 20. Or the power is going to change because we're going from US only to global distribution of the final vehicle. And so that's one of the things that we listen to what's going on in the marketplace. We listen to our customers, and then we provide what they need.
Fascinating. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I've been speaking with Dennis Jensen of TLX Technologies, and thank you again for joining us, Dennis, for this battery technology fast chat.
Thanks.